Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week. So keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Whoa, thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod across just about every major social media platform. Find the show anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. And of course, if you're watching us, you've already found the ThunderCast YouTube channel. It's KD and it's Jed back with you for another week of massive things. And we're going to take you around the herd as always. This will be the last episode that you get before that all-important spring football game that is just in a couple of days. If you haven't secured your tickets, you got to get your tickets at herdzone.com, where you can stop in the ticket office, secure yourself some tickets, secure yourself a parking spot, come out and tailgate with us. We're going to have a great time. We might talk about that a little bit later, but we got a lot of stuff to cover. Jed, it's great to be back with you for another week. Are you ready to get into some things, man?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it. One thing I do have to say, though, is, I listened to the episode last week for the 4-year anniversary, man. And so I was listening to the introduction on the, right before we jumped on here. And I'm just sitting here like, man, it's not as good as the original. I mean, the original pops. Man, I liked it. I was sitting here like, man, this thing kind of rocks. I like this.
Grow on you. It'll grow on you.
Yeah, it does, man. I'm feeling it. But yeah, I'm ready, man. Let's do this.
We tried to stay on the leading cusp of things, and it was just time for a breath of fresh air and, a little bit of a rebrand, not rebrand, but refresh. It was just time. But yeah. Okay, let's get into some things here after a quick word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
It is going to be a jam-packed 5 things this week, because it is not 5 things. It is a big, massive, whopping 13 things that we have to cover this week. It is a huge list, and always brought to you by ignite.link.
And now, here are at least 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by ignite.link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team.
Unless you have been living under a rock, you did not miss number 1, your 2026 WNIT champions, now the winningest women's basketball team ever, 28 wins on the season, the Marshall Thundering Herd, capturing the title. A couple weeks ago, I said, man, wouldn't it be great to go on a little win streak here after we talked about that somewhat disappointing exit from the SBC tournament? And they just went on and won the whole damn thing, Jed.
Yeah, talk about a little bit of a win streak. Yeah, just run the whole game, especially those last couple games, man. Just being able to pull away, in the fourth quarter, and I think that was a game against Army, and then the game prior, and then they dominated from almost start to finish that championship game in front of a sold out crowd in the Cam. Man, that's just rocket. What a great way to bounce back from that, kind of disappointing loss that we talked about from the SBC tournament, and just, go show the nation, herd fans, everybody that, this was a good team. This was a great team, not just a good team, a great team. And what a send off for those seniors and those girls. And man, that was awesome.
From a win-loss standpoint, they're the greatest team in Marshall women's basketball history. 28 wins. That's going to be tough to top. We thought we might have seen the pinnacle of that a couple of years ago with Kim Caldwell and setting the new single-season wins record, then going to the NCAA tournament. That was really the only thing that this season was missing, was an NCAA tournament berth. But if you go to the NCAA tournament, you can't go to the WNIT, and you can't win that whole damn thing. So I don't know, man. I think this is really, really prestigious. They add a trophy to the trophy case. They get to cut the freaking nets. Julie Folks' system works. She goes and finds players that can fit her system, and it just freaking works. Let's go on to number 2, because it piggybacks right off of number 1. Tamaya Lewis-Utsi is the new single-season Marshall women's basketball record holder for points with 741, and steals with 141 and ended up being the WNIT tournament MVP.
Yeah, we've seen this all season long, but especially during this WNIT tournament, she just took over. There were times where she took over games and willed those points, from making points off of steals, going down and just scoring in any way and every way possible, putting up crazy shots that seemed to have no chance to go in. Man, she just, I mean, obvious, to anybody watching, who deserved to have the MVP status of that tournament, man. It's just, like all season long, but like I said, especially during the tournament, she was so fun to watch and was a big reason that this her team went on the run that it did and completed, getting the big trophy. So, man, what a cool way to cap off your your year and your career.
Yeah, and like single season points record, single season steals record, Sun Belt Conference newcomer of the year, WNIT tournament MVP, walking bucket, right? An absolute walking bucket. I mean, I don't know if I can think of anybody that had 1 year in Huntington and has made that much of an impact, done those kind of things. I mean, there's been some one and done football players that have done unbelievably well. You think of guys like Kalen Laburn come in and like tore it up for 1 year and put up gaudy numbers in a season where we thought he would be a compliment to Rasheen Ali, and Rasheen goes down, and now it's Kalen's show to run, and he goes crazy with it. But Lewis Utzi's season statistically, obviously, is the best in several categories in Herd women's basketball history. And it's seasons like this to where we're going to get off on just a little bit of a tangent for a second. But when you talk about things like Herd Hall of Famers, Herd Athletics Hall of Famers, right now, officially, unofficially, whatever they say, like you need to be at Marshall at least 2 years. Well, she's been here 1 year and set these records, the newcomer of the year. So that's a discussion that you're going to have to visit in 10 years when she would be eligible for the Athletics Hall of Fame. And I think this is one of those things where you might have to go, because you're in the transfer portal era and you're losing a lot of your best players all the time annually. And I tweeted this earlier. I think in a decade or so, you're going to start to have some serious conversations about eligibility for the Herd Hall of Fame. Now, I don't want to get off on a tangent on that, but I'm just saying this is a really, really special year. I mean, that is a special resume to do 1 year in Huntington. All those team wins, championship, cut the net, personal trophies, accolades, and team success. This is the full boat right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And to just a little bit to your point about being in the transfer portal era and everything, like every once in a while you're going to have somebody that comes in and she just didn't dominate, broke records that they'll have a hard time. Someone's going to have a really, really hard time trying to, breaking that record moving forward, and so I think, you've got your baseline criteria, but you got to look at, especially when you're going to have these one and dones because of the, transfer portal and things like that, maybe evaluate it. I feel like that's coming, it's going to come here soon because you're not going to get those, the Wyatt Fricks guys, the Obinas, the Tavion Kinseys, those guys, that come in and, stick it out for their whole careers here. That's just rare. It's going to become even more rare. It's just the nature of the game. So that's going to be more rare. And so you're going to have to look at, if you're going to have Hall of Fame, those enter the Hall of Fame, how, what's going to have to maybe change with your eligibility, requirements for that. So, but
over the course of the next decade, 12, 14 years, even we'll have plenty of viable candidates. So you just you won't see this until way later, until you're fully immersed in this portal era and people are like, wow, we really don't get athletes that stay 3, 4, 5 years. Or if they do stay 4 years, they transfer out as a grad transfer. And I'm not sure I'm okay with that either. I feel like you'd have to finish your career at Marshall. But listen, that's a discussion for a whole nother episode. We got a lot to get through. So let's move on to number 3. We're sticking with women's basketball, and Timberland Yeast has was named to the WNIT All-Tournament team, but just a few days after that, when the transfer portal opened, she entered the transfer portal. So a great season for Timberland, but decided to throw her name in the portal.
Yeah, we just talked about it, man. I mean, this is the nature of college athletics. I don't like it. I get it in a lot of ways. Some things had to change, for sure. It's just I don't like the current execution here, in its current state, and I think a lot of people would complain about that too, or have some beef with that as well. But it is what it is. I mean, she was a great contributor to the team. Just comes off a championship win. These college kids are. Again, we don't know what they're chasing. Sometimes it's, maybe additional money or additional opportunity or, change in degree or what have you. So it's, but this part of the landscape, we wish her the best, obviously, if she ends up transferring out. But, it'd be nice to retain,
Yeah. And because you're in doesn't mean you won't come back out. But
Right.
The news is right now that you've entered. And I always expect folks that enter are looking for a new place to go, and that's fine. Number 4, continuing with the transfer portal, Kai Spears, Shamari Huggy, Caden White, Caleb Hollenbeck all enter the transfer portal from men's basketball. So with the 6 that we have exhausting eligibility, Marshall also now has 6 enter the transfer portal. We talked about one last week, I think. That leaves, if my calculations are correct, that leaves Bryce Slay as the current only member on the men's basketball roster. Great young player to try to build your team around. But again, this is a horrid reality of the current state of college athletics. You can find yourself in a position where your entire team is either in the portal or has exhausted eligibility. And I just don't know how that you can expect to remain competitive, be competitive year in and year out, if this is what a lot of schools are going to be subjected to.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It sucks because, you've seen over the last couple of seasons, the potential with this basketball team. Corny's going to be entering into year 3 here. At the head coach position, I thought he had some good momentum. We had some guys come back. You had Jalen Spear. Not sure if he was going to come back or not. He ended up staying. You had Wyatt Fricks. You had a couple of guys to work. You had a bit of a base. Then you bring in, Matt Van Komen, and you bring in Bryce Slay, and you bring in these guys that kind of fill around, and you saw some of you saw the talent and you saw the potential that this team played or had when they played at their best, in some of these games. And so you want to, year after year, if you can have a core group that you can build around to bring back, from the transfer portal or, bringing in kids out of high school, that's your best bet. But you enter in year 3 and you're starting from scratch, and that's tough because you really don't have much to build off of. I mean, love that Bryce Slay's here. We hope he stays, but it's hard to build a team off just one guy. And so he's got his work cut out for him in the portal. And again, nature of the beast at the moment.
Yeah, at 12, you got to go find 12 players somewhere.
Yeah.
To put a team. And now you just mentioned, Corny's going to enter year 3. That even makes like your general coaching trajectory, the watermarks that you would have, totally different. Because you would think, all right, you're entering year 3, it's time to put it all together. You got to go make a run for a championship if there's going to be one. And that's just not that way anymore, because you're trying to rebuild an entire roster, potentially year over year sometimes. That, like, what are the metrics by which you decide if you keep a coach or move to a new era of a coach? And I'm not talking about Corny in particular. I'm just talking about across athletics, across collegiate athletics. Like, how do you give a guy a fair shake when he's tasked with rebuilding a roster every single year, instead of having a guy or 2 or 3 that is coming back, some other guys that have been on the developmental side are expected to take a leap, and you're trying to plug a hole with 1 or 2 guys? Now you're trying to build a freaking roster. Some teams are, and that's tough, man. That's just really tough. Something I think we're getting close to seeing federal legislation come down the line, and I don't know how well received it's going to be. I don't know how ultimately fair it's going to be, but the NCAA put themselves in this position. They didn't take the reins at the beginning when they should have to put some framework in place that was workable. So now here we all are. And who ultimately suffers is the fan and some of these players that get bad info, hit the portal. We can get you a bag, and then next thing you know, there's not a roster spot for you anywhere.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's my thing is I won't pretend to know that, have all the answers to this or what would be best, but something's got to give because like you said, the fans suffer. You've got an institution like Marshall, who you have donors, you have the fan base that, that buy the tickets and come to the games. And that's what financially supports these sports. And, when you have a rotating roster every year, it gets kind of exhausting, trying to have to rebuild every year and try to compete with your peers. And that you can't build off, you bring a kid in, it's not guaranteed in any way that you can build off him for at least even 2 years. Heck, if you just get 2 years out of somebody, knowing that, okay, even if, we work out the kinks with this freshman this year, we know we get him at least as a sophomore next year. Even something like that, where you can at least retain for a couple of years so you can actually build something instead of having to, build a team from scratch every year. And it's exhausting. We've talked about this before. I think you and Russ talked about it. Probably you and I and me and Russ have talked about this before. Like, we work hard to try to learn these athletes' names, and we want to, we follow them. We want to, cheer them to success. And it's tough when you're having to learn, 50, 60, 70, 80, new athletes every year. And by the time you get to know them and learn their story and get excited about them, they've hopped on to the next thing. And so, I want to see some excitement back with, we're probably not going to get kids 4 or 5 years, but, be able to get behind somebody for a couple of years and be able to build a program off of it. And I don't know what the fix is there, but the current system is not the way. And I think, like you said, legislation's coming down the pike at some point. Has to.
It has to. And I feel like the likelihood maybe of if you make a scholarship a 2-year agreement, the likelihood of maybe staying for that 3rd or 4th year obviously is going to increase because you're like, all right, I'm here. I know what I got. Like we got, you start maybe to think about things a little bit differently. So I don't know. Something has to give. This system is just not sustainable because I don't know too many donors that are just willing to continually dump money into an NIL fund for one and dones, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you sell that all the time? How do you sell that? Unless you are going to compete for a tournament spot or in football, a national championship. How do you go to somebody and go, hey, we're right there. And then you turn right around and everybody portals out. And you're like, well, we were right there, but we need you to step up again. I just don't think that that's a sustainable system. Let's move on to number 5 because I could keep doing this for another hour.
Yeah, it's another episode you could do.
Marshall softball's Tia TT named the SBC Softball Player of the Week. She homered in all 3 games of the SBC Weekend Series. Hit 3 multi-hit games with 5 of her 6 hits going for extra bases. Batted .545 with 6 ribbies while slugging a monumental 1.636. Earned the Player of the Week nod, no doubt, with those numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, are they playing? Is this softball team playing like a video game softball game? Or what? Like these are like video game stats, man.
Yeah.
Like just killing it. I mean, absolutely killing it. And I think we're going to probably talk more about this softball team as a whole later on in the episode. But this right here is what is a part of why softball is doing what it's doing and is causing a little bit of noise, man. So that's awesome. Well deserved to be Player of the Week, and congratulations to her, man. Just
if you're an of the
body
week
numbers, man.
If you're a Player of the Week, you are a thing on the ThunderCast. That is
absolutely.
Sure. Number 6, little football news right here before the spring game. Football picks up a transfer from wide receiver Josiah McLaren from the University of Maryland, 6'1", 180-pound sophomore, according to the 2025 Maryland roster, has 3 years of eligibility remaining. Little bit of a utility guy for the Terrapins last year. Not a lot of any one stat that kind of blew you away. Did a little rushing, did a little receiving, played a little bit in the return game. So who knows where he may land in this herd offense, but little bit of experience doing a little bit of everything. Had been a little quiet on the recruiting front for Herd football, but picked up one just a few days before the spring game.
Well, and maybe not a lot of stats out there, but you comes from a power program, which he's gone through camp, he's gone through practices, he's got game rep speed at playing against some big time schools, so we've seen it. We had really great success bringing guys in from schools like this who can become immediate impact players. Just get them into our system versus have to when like you recruit a high school kid, bringing them in, getting them used to the speed of the game and all of those things, the college experience. Bringing a guy like this to add some depth with some experiences, always helpful. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
There's been guys that have found success with Marshall coming from other stops that haven't had very many stats at those previous stops. Comes to mind again, Kalen Laburn didn't have that much to write home about when he was at FSU, came in here and one season, and when he ended that season, he was in the top 20 rushing all time for the Herd. And you think about a little older guy by the name of Tyree Brady, came in here and played phenomenally for a couple of years and didn't have too many stats of any account at his previous stops in Miami and things like that. So we've had success with guys, and then there are more. This is just off the top of my head, right? Offensive guys that have come in and made a mark for themselves, and potential multi-year guy here. But you always have to say potential because the portal is what the portal is. Number 7, as reported by Alex Rosinski on X, Marshall men's basketball will be playing at UNC as part of next year's basketball schedule. That game will be on Friday, November the 20th. So if you're in the Carolina area, the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, you get an opportunity to go watch the Herd play UNC on November 20th.
Yeah, always cool to play a big-time program. You always hope you can show up and compete, and
Carolina's going through a coaching change. They're gonna, they're always going to be a strong team. But this is relatively early in a season, so maybe they'll be trying to put some pieces together, try to figure it out a little bit. Maybe, we just talked about the Herd going to have to try to figure it out too. They got a whole roster to fill out, but definitely a marquee game. You can go in there and shock the world that one. That's going to really, really resonate big time across the college basketball world. Number 8, Marshall softball head coach Morgan Zirkle is one of 36 athletes named to the 2026 U.S. Women's National Team athlete pool ahead of the WBSC World Cup and International Cup. So doesn't say makes the final roster, but one of 36 named to the athlete pool. Huge honor. Morgan has been part of Team USA's in the past. Of course, in the pro league that she plays in, she's one of the top players. So you can start to connect some dots and say, well, it's a pretty good opportunity here, pretty good likelihood that she may get the call. But nonetheless, being one of 36 in the athlete pool to begin with, massive honor.
Yeah, it sounds like she's maybe a little bit good at softball. Maybe a little bit, just to that's fantastic. No, and I don't know, and I know you and Russ have talked about this a lot too, but to have a head coach of your program who is still actively playing at the professional level, and not just playing at the professional level, achieving very
at the top of the game
at the professional level, just speaks volumes. I mean, to have that as your coach, to bring that skill, that expertise, the connections, with her and her staff. I mean, it's no wonder that Herd softball is doing the things that it's doing, and what an honor. It'd be really cool if she gets that opportunity, and it'd be well deserved for sure.
So outside of that, think about how much of a recruiting tool that is, because these softball players are paying attention to these leagues, right? And then you see somebody like Morgan Zirkle achieving and being at the top of the game in those leagues, and then for her to come to you and say, hey, I want you on my team at Marshall. I think you're good enough to be on my team. And that would be, as a high schooler or even a transfer athlete, I would be like, okay, cool. I grew up, I played baseball. I wouldn't say I had enough talent to play anywhere after high school. I probably really didn't have any business playing in high school, but I did. But that would, to me, be like if my favorite player of all time came up to me and was like, "Hey, I want you on my team." I'm like, "I'm sold. Good. I don't need to take any visits. I don't need to go anywhere else. You are doing what I want to do, and you see something in me that you want on your roster." I just think that's super cool, man. All right, here comes the biggest, well, not the biggest, but one of the, I got to keep this one straight. This is going to be hard to keep straight. The most hardest to keep straight thing of the week. Number 9, men's track and field has the number 2 high jump team in the country. I would have thought long jump, but number 2 high jump team in the country. The team consists of Trayshawn Smith, familiar name, Otio Mott, familiar name, Ryan Mukhtar, and Evan Weeder. And while we're at it, let's talk about a slew of other athletes, and then I'll get your reaction on that. The following track and field athletes are in the top 48 in the East region, which puts them on the NCAA first-round watch list. Otio Mott, Cam Hamby, and Trayshawn Smith in the men's triple jump. That's what I meant to say earlier. I said long jump. I meant to say triple jump. All 3 of those are in the top 25 in the nation and are 7th, 8th, and 9th, respectively. Shocker. They keep breaking each other's record for the herd. Then we got Smith is also on the list for the men's high jump. Ryan Mukhtar for the men's high jump. Taylor Spencer for women's steeplechase. Markayla Moore for women's hammer throw. And, of course, Laura Check for women's long jump. Lots of familiar names for track and field. Look at that paragraph of names I just ripped off that are on the watch list for NCAAs. That is huge. We're not talking SBCs. We're talking NCAAs. That is massive news.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we've talked about this, for weeks now, especially when, these familiar names are making their way into the 5 things week in, week out. Man, it's just, again, we keep talking about the track program and its steady climb over the years, especially on the men's side where it's still fairly relatively new being brought back. And they're doing really, really cool things, and we love to hear it. Anytime you get to the NCAA anything, that's the top, right? That's the tip top. That's not a a secondary class or a secondary tournament. No, this is you're competing with the best in college athletics at your sport, and you have a chance to be number 1. So that just speaks highly of these athletes, their coaches, and man, this is fantastic.
I know. On to number 10. We're going to throw it back a little bit to a name that many Herd fans of yesteryear are going to know. If you're an NBA fan, you're definitely going to know. Herd basketball's own Mike D'Antoni is going to be inducted to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. This is the one, the top tier Hall of Fame for basketball. The James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame for Herd alum Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, man. What really cool achievement, especially having that throughout his career, his pro coaching career. Very cool for Marshall and people from Huntington, just to be able to cheer him on and to celebrate with him. Like, just what an accomplishment, what a great career, and having this recognition of that great career, man. I think that's super cool, just top to bottom.
I do too, and I'm going to give a shout out to Mullins, West Virginia. Of course, that's the hometown of the D'Antonis, small town West Virginia. Anytime you get an opportunity to shout out small town West Virginia, you got to do it, right? Because this is a massive, massive thing, and they're going to say, hey, we've got a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer from here, right? And of course, I doubt you can throw a rock without hitting 10 people that know the D'Antoni name in Mullins, but still, put that on a sign. Now entering Mullins, home of Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer Mike D'Antoni.
There's just something, man, about being from small town West Virginia that makes you become an incredible coach or an incrable athlete.
Let me put my hand back down.
Yeah, not me. But like looking at the coaching, well, just look at all the coaches that have come, originated from the state of West Virginia, born here, raised here, then go off and, go win national championships left and right. Like it's pretty crazy, man. Small state.
It is pretty crazy. A lot of concentration of sports talent in this state that, I mean, when you start to think about it, the big ones are going to get tossed out first. People are going to go Randy Moss. They're going to go Jerry West. They're going to go Jason Williams. They're going to go, yada, yada, yada. And you start talking about coaches like Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. And of course, Bob Pruitt, he's from Beckley, and like all of these great coaches, great athletes. And then you got to think, well, there's been a fair amount of Olympians here too. And you think about, okay, Mary Lou Retton, and you think about Randy Barnes from St. Albans, West Virginia. It's like, we might not have the most storied athletic history, but man, it's pretty impressive when you start digging through the annals of West Virginia athletics history. It's pretty cool, man. There's some game-changing athletes that literally changed how the game was played, right? Not just game changer as in can take over a game, because they could most certainly do that too, but change the way the game was played, right? Guys that coached and altered the way the game had to be defended, or altered the way that an offense was presented, right? It's so wild that when you think about that stuff. And our own Cam Henderson, in the inventor of the fast break, right? That's very, very cool. And I'm not sure a lot of basketball folks know that outside of Marshall. This is a very fundamental part of the basketball game, is the fast break. And that originated with Cam Henderson, very, very cool.
You're talking about less than a percentage of the total population of the country, is people from West Virginia, right? We have like 1.8 million or whatever it is. So that's like probably about closer to 0.5% of the total population of the country. And then I would love to see the stats on that, like for our percentage of population to have that many high achieving coaches and athletes and game changing things. I mean, like you mentioned before, like the inventor of the fast break. How many storied things have come from the state of West Virginia, athletes, coaches, programs, things like that. Based on that percentage of population. I would find those stats fascinating because you would think, statistically speaking, nobody would come from, you wouldn't have that to that level that often.
Yeah, I know. And we were going to get drowned out by sheer numbers, right? The sheer numbers that come out of the state of Florida, that come out of the state of Georgia and Texas and California. Just it's a flood, like if you're just going over gross numbers, we can't compete anywhere. But you can't name on one hand a wide receivers you would take over Moss in his prime. I can't. Mm-hmm. I can't name 5 that I would take above him in his prime. Can't do it, And as much as the system is what the system is, I don't know that you'd find too many people that would not want to take Nick Saban to lead their college football team program, right? Their program, and lead that to how many championships you can get. Just a very cool conversation and another topic for another episode on another day.
3 episodes we've come up with already, Katie.
No, it's just a library of content. We just put that on the shelf, and whenever we ain't got shit to talk about, we'll just talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So number 11, men's soccer news. Augusto Maciel is a new assistant coach for Herd men's soccer, while Gabriel Parada, Herd soccer alum, has also been promoted to assistant coach. So bringing in one and keeping one in-house. The Chris Grassi coaching tree grows.
Whatever Coach Grassi says, that's
good enough
where I'm at. It's fine with me. I'm in.
Number 11, Lisa Lucas has been named the new director of annual giving for the Big Green. She will be replacing Devin Miller and Emily Suter, who were chosen to be major parts of the Herd hospitality department and entertainment division. So a little bit of shifting of titles for some in-house folks. Of course, everybody that has been watching the ThunderCast for any amount of time is very familiar with Devin Miller. Great dude, for Herd football alum, obviously. Doing a great job with the Big Green. But now the Big Green brings in Lisa Lucas as your new director of annual giving.
Yeah. That's great, man. I love that they're bringing in people. The shift I think has been really, really good. I want to say I had a minute there the other about a week or two ago at the baseball game to talk with Devin and Emily about their their transition and things like that. And I think it's been really good. I think that, they did a great, a phenomenal job at the Big Green. I think they're killing it in their new positions, and I like it. I like kind of the shifts that are being made here, and it's all good.
So first of all, herd hospitality and entertainment is a needed thing because we have venues that could be exploited for new revenue streams. And I think Devin is a great dude to be a part of that because he's just super personable. And you talk to him once, it's like you've known him forever. Emily, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Emily yet. I'm hoping to be able to do that at some point this weekend during spring game weekend. But you and I have talked many times about the Big Green and how they really need to figure out ways to increase membership and tackle the new era of herd fan, right? The new graduate, the under 30 crowd, the under 40 crowd. I think what's important to those people is different than the people that are over 40 or over 50. So there's really no good reason that you and I can find of why we kind of hover around that 3,000 member thing when it should be double, triple that number. So I'm excited to see that the continued evolution of the Big Green and what they plan to do moving forward to identify and recruit those new members and get them excited about herd athletics. You're always going to have those super fans. I'm not a super fan, but I am excited. I want to be a part of the Big Green. I want to be a part of the successes of Marshall athletics. You're always going to have those people, but there are also people out there that want to do that, but they need to be asked to do that. So find those people and ask those people. I'll be honest with you, for the longest time into adulthood, I thought, man, being a booster is just for like rich people. That's a rich people game. And it took years before I realized that, I can be a part of this too. Oh, well then why don't I? So there's a little bit of consumer education, I guess you want to call it. And there's a little bit of, recruitment and you got to find out what's important to those people versus what's important to other people. And the average fan to me is a largely untapped resource that want to help, but you have to find out why they want to help and what you can offer them to make it attractive to help. And I think if you do that, they will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I got 2 points on this just quickly. One, I like the fact that and not that there wasn't a concerted effort before. I want to make myself very clear. But I like that there has been activity and you can see the movement of these pieces where there is an effort to do that, right? To make an effort to, okay, we got to grow the Big Green, we got to grow, you got to grow these things, right? We got to make sure that there are opportunities for, as far as herd hospitality. The Sky Deck was a new thing this season in basketball. It was more halfway through the end of the year of the season, but that was a new thing, having that ability for businesses to jump in and be able to rent that, at a rate that, you're not going to rent that box for the season, but you're going to be able to rent it for a game and to be able to do an outing and making unique ways to bring in potentially businesses and people that may haven't participated at that level of spending. I mean, not that it's tens of thousands of dollars, but you're providing a lot more opportunities for people to put money into something that money then can be used for Big Green that goes to the athletics and things like that. So for my business, we've taken advantage of that. We've done some of those things. I'm not going to rent a box at the Joan. That's just not something that my business is going to be able to do right now. But I can rent the Sky Deck for a game. I can rent a suite at the game, or at the baseball stadium, or I can do these other things, and that allows me to participate at that level. The second thing is I just want to do a plug because I know we do this often, but I want to go ahead and do a plug for the Big Green. I think it's important that if you have been on the fence about being a Big Green member and the opportunities that it can provide you. I mean, it's like it's a hair over $8 a month. It's $100 a year to be entry level, man. And it's go to Starbucks, go eat out a meal, to pick a place, fast food restaurant anymore. And that's what you get. And that's what's one meal a month, right? Or one really big expensive coffee a month, that you could then actually be participatory in herd athletics and be a big green member. It's as simple as that. And I just wanted to put that plug there, that if you guys at any time, any of these listeners, or if you are a listener and you have somebody who's talked about it or asked about what the big green is, hit us up with a DM. Ask us. We can help you get signed up. And, there's some pretty cool perks. And I think there's a, that's not really there is a perk that you can participate in. That's not part of the big green coming up next, I think. But, there's definitely perks that you can participate in, with becoming a big green member. So just want to put that plug in there. If you're not a big green member, then let's do it. And, what's the holdup?
Yeah, you can always DM us at the ThunderCast, or message us on any platform that we are on. You can email us at thundercast.pod@gmail.com. We will get you in touch with the people to make it happen. And of course, you can always go online to herdzone.com and follow some extra links through there, or you can go to The Big Green. I think it's thebiggreen.com, I think. Anyway, Google it, you'll find it. It's really easy to sign up and get started. But yes, you're right. Our 13th and final in this epic list of things, 42 minutes in.
Are we still on the 5 things?
Yeah. So this is your 13th Baker's Dozen things here, but it is a new way for you to support herd athletics without taking any money out of your pocket by doing something you may already be doing. So if you missed this online, the release, the announcement, we are now going to introduce it to you, our listener base. Introducing herdhotels.com. 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 If you are somebody that books hotels online, or even if you only do it once or twice a year, go to herdhotels.com and create your account. It's free. You can do your bookings there. It's just like going to Expedia or hotels.com or anything like that. You're just going to go to hotels.com. You're going to get the same good rates that you're going to get on those websites. But here's the kicker. Once you make your booking, 50% of the commission from the booking goes right back to Marshall Athletics. And you even have the ability, if you don't select a specific sport that you want it to go to, it's just going to go into the athletic general fund, right? So this the big green general fund type thing. This is what's super cool for you folks that travel all the time. You could literally put thousands of dollars back into Marshall Athletics without doing anything differently than you're already doing. Go make your hotel booking. It shows you right on there. Like if you wanted to stay a week somewhere, the price it gives you is the price you pay. It includes fees. It includes all that taxes and fees. And then over to the left, it's going to tell you how much of that is going back to Marshall Athletics. I was on the website before Jed and I hit record, and I was checking it out because I wanted to be able to talk intelligently about this, right? So I was like, okay, if somebody wants to go stay in Tampa, where I'm from, for 6 days and had all the hotels, and they ranged the gamut, man, from, a few $100 to a few $1,000. And it told me how much money was going to go back to Marshall if I made that booking. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, for example, this stay says $2,300. But $350 are going to Marshall. Well, that's not 50%. But then it hit me. Oh, it's not of the booking. It's of the commission from the site. So instead of a commission going to hotels.com and them keeping 100% of that commission, if you book through herdhotels.com, the site is going to keep 50% and the other 50% is going to go to Herd Athletics. That is a sweet deal that costs you $0. So if you're booking hotels online, go ahead and open your phone, type in herdhotels.com, bookmark it so it's always there when you're ready to go book your next hotel. This can be a huge revenue stream for Herd Athletics if we can just get everybody to start booking at herdhotels.com.
Yeah, man, and I love this. Like, I love that there's been a concerted effort to go after these programs like this, where it's zero cost to you, to me, to the listeners, and herd fans. It's zero cost to you guys, to us, to then be able to support the athletic program, and so being able to introduce things like this and be unique. is a great way to take advantage of somebody who's not going to be able to just dump 10 grand into the athletics fund at the big green, right? Or be a big donor. I mean, this is a way that you don't have to spend any extra money than the money you're already spending to then contribute. And I think that's great from both sides. If we can start using that as fans, it's great that these folks are going out and finding these programs and coming up with these unique opportunities for herd fans to do this in a way that's cost effective to everybody. And again, if everybody goes and books let's say you do 1,000 herd fans book a week-long stay somewhere, so you do 350 times 1,000. Well, you can do the math, even if it's not 1,000 people, even if it's just 100 people, that's money that the athletic fund didn't have before that you don't have to directly donate to the fund. So I think that's fantastic. And I'm really excited to see more of these things, becoming out, more of these opportunities come to light. And I'm really excited that Marshall's really taken a concerted effort to try to do some unique things to raise a little bit of money.
Yeah, before we close out this 5 things, I have to do a little house cleaning note here. We keep tossing around that number $350, right? Because that was the commission from that particular hotel stay.
Right.
Each hotel stay is going to be different based on how expensive or how inexpensive the stay is going to be. But it tells you, again, on the website, over on the left-hand side, how much money is going to go back to Marshall Athletics based on what hotel you choose, how long your stay is going to be, and all yada, 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 right? herdhotels.com. For you fans that go to away games, this ought to be your go-to. Now, you're booking a hotel anyway, you might as well book it through herdhotels.com. For you out-of-town fans that are coming in for a game once or twice, herdhotels.com. If you are a business traveler, what are we doing here, right? herdhotels.com. But I'm just going to keep saying it because the more money we get back into the athletic department, the more money frees up for scholarships, the more improvements we can have, the more yada, 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 yada. It's just better for everyone. And it costs nothing for us to do. We all ought to be taking part of that.
Wait,
Jed, if you got, you got something.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a stupid joke. All I was going to say was, you're telling me it takes money to do this stuff, like to run an athletic program?
A little bit.
And put a winning product on the field and update facilities?
Yes, that shit ain't free, right?
Right,
I know.
right.
I mean, I'm like everybody too. I like a lot. If I can get something for nothing, I'll take it, right? But I do understand that we're talking about a multi-million-dollar operation here, and I say multi-million-dollar, and I'm not talking 2 or 3, right? This is tens of millions of dollars that we are operating within annually, and the more money that we can get coming into this athletic department, the better we're all going to be, right? So free things like this, taking advantage of your herd perks to make your Big Green membership worth the money that you're paying so that you individually are coming out ahead. These are all benefits to you, right? But there's always more we can do. And this is one of those things that Marshall did to add benefits for themselves at no cost to you. So that's awesome. Now that our 13 things are over, what do you say we get with layer 1 and go around the herd?
Sounds good.
And now, Layer 1 Solutions, your experts in business connectivity infrastructure, takes you around the herd.
Just like those infomercials, KD. But wait, there's more. There is more. But we'll work through this quickly. For those of you who have already arrived to work, just hit pause and you can to the next 45 minutes on the way home if you have a 48, 50-minute commute. But we'll work our way through this quickly. We're going to start with volleyball. Yeah, that's right. Volleyball in the spring. The green and white scrimmage open practice will be Thursday as we record. That's tomorrow. We're recording Wednesday evening, but that'll be tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you catch this episode in the morning on your commute, hey, have an opportunity to check out volleyball and in the spring.
Yep. Let's keep rolling.
We're just gonna blast through this, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's take it over to tennis. Unfortunately, dropped both matches on the road this weekend, losing 4-3 to Coastal Carolina, and then 4-1 to Georgia Southern.
Not good.
Not good. We talked about this, I believe, not last week, but the week before, when you and I were discussing tennis. A program that's a good program. We're competing with the top tier of our conference, and we gotta bounce back and get some wins.
I guess
They
what
will
I
be.
guess what I should
Go
have
ahead.
said was not ideal. Okay, it's not that it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
also not good, but it's not ideal. How about that?
yeah. Well, and this team again, like we've talked about, this is a good team. They're competing with the top tier of the
Sure.
conference. I look to, especially when you're on the road, it's always tough. So, but they get an opportunity to hopefully notch another win. They will come back home on Sunday at noon, and they'll be hosting Dayton. Well, taking it over to track and field, we're not going to go over what they're anything of the NCAA. We covered that in the 5 things, but they will be heading down to Knoxville for the Tennessee Relays on Friday and Saturday as the outdoor season continues to ramp up. Any comments, thoughts on that?
No,
Good.
I mean
All right. We're
we
good.
are. I'm saving it all for softball and women's basketball, and
Fair. I got you. I just don't want to skip over you. All right,
go
just
for
just tell me to shut up, and you got a comment to make. All right, we're going to talk about both men and women's golf. Both are still in the middle of the Golf Week Spring Challenge, and so we really don't have much to talk about with them other than next week once that completes. We'll bring you all the updates and news as it concerns both men and women's golf.
Sounds good.
All right. Women's soccer. That's right. Women's soccer being able to, over the last couple years, or I think it started last year actually, have now started to participate in some spring activities. Now, the college does not have there is not a college spring league like the men's, that the men have for women's, but the women have started taking advantage of doing some spring play. And we've talked about this before, Katie, and Russ and I have talked about this before. Soccer is almost now a year-round sport. And so you've got to, if you're going to be competitive during the main season in the fall, you've got to be practicing and playing games in the spring. So
I will chime in on this.
Yep, go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
I will chime in on women's soccer because a big corner was turned last year. We saw double the amount of wins from 2 years ago, which was Rafa's first year. He had no opportunity really to recruit that well. Like, it was too late in the process. And last year when I did the season preview with him, we talked about that because I don't know how soccer works, like recruiting and all that kind of stuff. And he mentioned, he's like, you're talking to juniors and that's what you need to be talking to. And it was just too late in the game. So they were really behind the 8 ball. And then last year he was able to get that going to where you saw some benefits on the roster, on the field, and the herd goes out and doubles its win total year over year, right? And now it feels like we're starting to get into that raising of the star power, but also building depth across the roster to where you may see an even bigger improvement this year. Women's soccer feels like and has felt like the next program that has the easiest ability to take off. Right? Because Rafa, you got to remember, he's from the Chris Grassy coaching tree. He was a men's assistant coach and got the women's head job. So you're following the same blueprint that works for the men's side. It's just a matter of time to where you get that blueprint installed and you start seeing the successes of that. People forget that Chris Grassy kind of struggled in his first couple of years, right? And then all of a sudden it started clicking and it came together. And now look what's happening. And it really, really feels like the women's side of the soccer program is the next program to take off and make a run for some things.
Right. Well, and like with just like with men's soccer with Coach Grassy, I'm glad you mentioned that. It took a couple years. I mean, because you've got to get your recruiting cycles in. You've got to get your, so you got to get your players, and then you got to teach them, the style that you want to play, and get them to fit, and then you got to find your rotations, and it's going to take time. I mean, you may be able to put a championship team together in a single year, but like we've seen, it takes a couple years. And I loved that he said, when you did your interview with him in year 2, typically year 3 is when you make your run. And he's like, well, why not this year? And they did phenomenally better in year 2. I highly expect them to do even better in year 3. And because the expectation is, okay, if we're going to follow the blueprint of the men's, we we want to be ranked. We want to be going to NCAA tournaments. We want to be winning Sun Belt championships. I mean, that's the goal. It's not just to let's win more games. That's great. We've done that, but now it's time. Hey, we're going after championships, and I think that's the level they're wanting to attain. And I'm with you. I think that's something that is, we did it in the men's side. I think we can do it in the women's side, on the women's side as well.
For sure.
So to recap just a little bit, they did play WV State in a spring exhibition game Saturday. I do not have the results for that. I unfortunately wasn't able to go myself. But so if anyone has them, feel free to add us, and we'll repost them. They also have another exhibition at 6 p.m. tonight as we record. They will be hosting University of Charleston. And then they'll be at Northern Kentucky on Sunday at 3 p.m. So getting in these reps, getting into these games, great for the spring and great for this program.
Yeah, I just was checking to see if there was a score or anything. There is no update on social media about that.
Okay. Well, we're going to take it on to men's soccer. Doing what men's soccer does at Marshall University, picked up their third clean sheet in their third match of the College Spring League, beating Michigan State 3-0. They will play for the championship yet again on Saturday, taking on Ohio State at 3 p.m. in Columbus. As it happened last year, I think the spring game happened last year at the same time. If I'm not mistaken. We got to figure out the scheduling on that because
we tried to go earlier and they went earlier. What the hell, man?
Right. Yeah. So, but hey, if you are in the Columbus area or unable to make the football spring game, head on over to Columbus and check out the Herd yet again playing for a spring championship.
Yeah, lots of alums live up in the Columbus area, and there are lots of undoubtedly soccer fans, Marshall soccer fans that live in the area. So if you didn't know, now you know. You can head on over and watch your undeniably going to be nationally ranked Sun Belt contending for a championship, maybe making a run in the NCAA tournament, Marshall Thundering Herd men's soccer team compete for their potential back-to-back spring league soccer championship. They hoist it. That's 3 straight.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put a plug for Marshall soccer. And I know the games are very well attended, but if you have not gone to a Marshall soccer game and you can't make this one, look at getting season tickets. If not, just if at the very least go to a game and just get to enjoy the experience. What people fail to realize, I think, is you get to watch some of the best soccer in the country played right here in Huntington, West Virginia, and not just lower division. No, this is the best college soccer, and they're so fun. Even if you don't like soccer, you go, if I see soccer on TV, I change it. Like, even if you don't like soccer,
different vibe.
It's so much fun. It's a great venue, great experience. If you haven't done it yet, get your tickets for this coming fall. And if you're in the Columbus area, you have no excuse. Go Saturday. Well,
you also have no excuse even if you don't secure season tickets, because we give tickets away to every home soccer match, and we got killer seats, man. We're talking like third row seats. Like, we got great seats. So you should also be on the lookout for giveaways for Herdman soccer tickets all season long.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to swing on over to baseball. They dropped 2 of the 3 games of the series to App State, winning the first game 12-6. Then dropped the next 2, close one 5-4, and then for the third and final game, losing 10-4.
Rough one. Really would have liked to have had that series. Really would have liked to have had it. Kind of thought we needed it. Definitely would have liked to have gone on the road in Boone and at least walked out with a series win. I mean, I'm not expecting any sweeps or anything, but I really thought we could have taken 2 or 3 on the road. Man, something's got to happen. This is not a good stretch for Herd baseball right now, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, a little bit of a skid here. That second game just right there. But they will go to the WVU game in Morgantown was moved from Tuesday to tonight as we record at 6:30. I figured that game's about halfway through. I don't have any current.
The last update
current
I
score.
see was they're through 4, but somebody forgot to tweet what WVU's score is. So I'm just going to go off the last score I see, which was at the end of 3. It says WVU 5, Marshall 2. So let's just say it's 5-2 still as we record at the end of the 4th.
Well, we get back to conference play this coming weekend. All right, so time to show out and show up at the Jack. They will be hosting Old Dominion this weekend. Games Friday at 6 o'clock, Saturday at 5, and then Sunday at 1.
So here's your plan. What you're going to do is you're going to show up to the West Lot on Saturday morning, and you're going to tailgate for the spring football game, and you're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to have a great freaking day. We're going to go watch this new look Marshall Thundering Herd football team. Then we're all going to go outside in the tailgate lot on the West Lot, maybe eat a little bit more food, quench our thirst a little bit, and then we're going to all walk our happy asses across the West Lot, across 3rd Avenue, and go to the Jack and watch baseball. And then we're going to get up on Sunday, and then we're going to go back and watch more baseball on Sunday. And then we're going to fly back to Florida on Sunday evening. That's what we are all going to do. No.
I was going to say, I'm not flying back to Florida.
Whether you guys take the flight back is on you. But we are definitely doing the football and baseball thing this weekend, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So plan for it. Bring sunscreen, bring plenty to eat, plenty to drink, and fresh change clothes. That's what we're going to do. So
this is great weekend opportunity here, man. Really excited for that. All right, taking it over to softball. Whew. All right. They maintained their top 10 rankings in Softball America at 7th. D1 softballs, 8th, mid-major, top 25 polls, as they swept App State 3-1, 12-4, and 10-6. And just yesterday, KD, they ruled Pitt 8-0 in 6 innings. Yeah.
That's right.
They are 25th in RPI, which is the best of any team not in the major money conferences. Also, they've now been receiving some votes just in the top 25. Sid Burko's 15 home runs have her tied for 8th all-time single season. And then Bella Gerlach's 12 homes gives her 27 in her career at Marshall, which is tied for 10th.
So there's more to that, right? There's obviously more to that. They have – I don't think have they lost a game at the Dot yet? I'm not sure they have.
I don't think they have.
I'm not sure that they have. I also saw some stats. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because there's some other stuff that we're starting to flirt with all-time records here. We're going to start flirting. So first, shout out to the midweek beating Pitt, run rule in Pitt, Maddie Veal. Could try that again. Maddie Veal pitched a gem. Boy, that was hard to say. She pitched an absolute gem. But there are, what was that? Somebody is getting close to a saves record, maybe. So we're talking about saves records, home run records. Of course, the single season win record is starting to get in striking distance, because these gals are crushing it right now. I saw earlier today that Marshall has 70 team home runs this year. Only one of 8 teams in the country with at least 70 home runs, and we ain't even close to the end of the season yet. You know, this could be a 100 home run team easy. Yeah. You know,
I do want to just plug just real fast. They are 11-0 at home.
Okay, I thought that.
I thought so too. But yeah, they're for sure undefeated at home.
So they looked really slick in the all green unis against Pitt, wearing their all blue unis. That was a really slick color combo day, man. That was a very, very cool uni matchup as well. Just to talk about that, but a lot going on with Herd softball. They are absolutely streaking. And there is really no end in sight right now. I told you pitching was a huge upgrade over a year ago as far as depth and being able to spread innings around to more pitchers, this is going to be a huge benefit come tournament time. I'm telling you right now, if they stay healthy, it's going to be really hard to bet against the herd in the tournament. You might be looking at an NCAA team here. I mean, they've got the RPI category. They got the power. They got the pitching. They got the defense. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a top 25 team. It's kind of a shame that they're going to have to wait for a couple of teams ahead of them to lose for them to get in there. And most of that is because this is a mid-major team. If they had a different name across their chest, they would already be in the top 25. This is a top 25 herd softball team. Get out and watch them.
Yeah. And if you haven't gone and watched a softball game this year, or ever for that matter, stinking go to a game. Unfortunately, this weekend is not the time where you can go watch them because they will be down at Coastal Carolina. So for a bunch of you herd fans that live down near the Myrtle Beach area, they have games there Friday at 6, Saturday at 2, and then Sunday at noon.
Yeah, man. Go watch them. If you're in South Carolina, if you're in Myrtle Beach area, go watch them. They are fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What else can I say? All right, man. The final thing, well, not the final thing, second to final thing, and then we'll wrap up and I'd say go home, but I'm already home and I'll
Me too.
go to bed. We're gonna talk about the women's the women's basketball here and what they were able to accomplish in the WNIT. I know we talked about it in the things, but I wanted to recap just briefly what led us here. So Wednesday night, let's talk about our Arkansas State. Wednesday night, they went to Arkansas State. Saw a lot of hubbub online about why didn't we host this game? Why did Arkansas State host this game? In the end, it didn't really matter who hosted that game because we walked away with the win. It was a hard fought win, 69-62. Well, I got to watch that game on ESPN Plus, and girls played lights out, and that was a tough win. So win the bid to host the championship game. They come home against Illinois State, and I don't think that game was in question after about 3 minutes into that game. We dominated that game start to finish, ending it in a 66-41 win. So we covered MVP and all tournament selections, but I do want to cover the senior class that was here for their entire career. You had Mayer, Ilderton, and Redmond here their entire career, which means they went through 3 coaches, right? 3 coaches during their career here, which is just, I would say, unheard of, especially with the coaching carousel that there was there for a couple of years. Fantastic to have them here. They played lights out. Had the most wins in 4 years for women's basketball.
Yep.
The most. Thoughts on that?
So we talked a little bit about this last week. Of course, this was before, we were still speculating on Russ and I. Would we beat Arkansas State? Will we beat, Illinois State? Will we host? All that stuff. And I went on a little rant and talking about how, Mayer and Ilderton in particular are campus legends at Marshall. And I left out Ariana Redmond, and I shouldn't have, but I was just on a rant. I wasn't planning on saying any other thing, and it just popped in my head, and I took off, started talking. So you got to include, it's all 3 of them, right? Because they all 3 did these things. 3 coaches, a Sun Belt championship, an NCAA tournament appearance, a now NIT championship, the winningest senior class in Marshall women's basketball history. Twice set the single season record for wins, right? Unbelievable resumes for these 3. These are herd campus legends, all 3 of them, because they came, they stayed, they faced a tremendous amount of adversity. They faced a tremendous amount of question marks again and again, and still they stayed, and still they played. And still they developed and won games and won championships and hoisted banners. This senior class is responsible for hosting or hoisting 2 separate banners, 3 separate banners, really, because you're going to hoist the Sun Belt Conference championship banner. You're going to hoist a NCAA tournament appearance banner, and you're going to hoist a WNIT banner. 3, 1 for each coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me that there's not a benefit to sticking it out, and the grass isn't always greener. When you got something good, and you know you've got something good, you think those 3 between them weren't like, hey, we got a good core here, you know? And then Kemper leaves and they hire Coach Kim, and they're like, okay, we got a coach. Like, this is exciting brand of basketball. You get some great players to play along with that, like Abby Beeman, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh wow, we can really do some things here. Kim leaves after a year, and now you're like, where do we go from here? And they go find Julie Fulks, and they bring Julie in, and she had this gaudy resume from Transylvania where she was like 97-3 in 100 games, right? It's just gaudy. And then the first year it was rough because you got to rebuild a roster. You got to find the right players, and it didn't work out the way you wanted. But now they're seniors, and they're like, we're going to stick it out. We're here, we're in, we're heard, right? We're not, why would we go now? And boy, did that pay off, because Julie and that staff go out and find some pieces to elevate this team back to where it was, and even better, because they set a new single season record. They go win another championship. This is a Cinderella story when you think about it, because how many weeks do we come on here and go, they get one more at the Joan or at the Cam, and what a way to go out, man. They're going to, and they got 3 more at the Cam, and they left cutting the nets down on their home court. It doesn't get any better than that. I don't care who you are. If you are a basketball player outside of winning a national championship, you know, which is going to probably be on a neutral court, how does it get any better than cutting the nets down after winning a championship on your home court in front of a sellout crowd against a team that was good, but you ran away with the ball game? You proved that they were not on your level that particular day. And I want to give a shout out to Illinois State. They brought some fans, and we interacted with some of them on social media and stuff, and they were nothing but complimentary about Huntingtonians, Marshall fans. Like, we walked the walk that week, that day. You know, they left for like, wow, like we lost, but geez, the trip was awesome. You've got to respect those 3 girls, though. You've got to respect those 3 young women. They are everything that is good about college sports. They're everything that is good about being a Marshall fan. They're everything that is good about being a Marshall player. All of it. It's embodied right there in those 3 that achieved at such a high level, that stuck it out and chose to remain when so many others chose to leave, you know. And I can't fault the ones that graduated. You just ran out of eligibility, right? But the ones that made the decision like, I don't know if Marshall's for me, and then then this happens. They are everything that is good about herd athletics, and they're everything that is good and still right about collegiate athletics.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And just, I mean, I'm going to say kudos, but that's too light of a word to use for them, for those 3. Because I think, again, it's rare. It's rare that they did that, because when they faced the adversity of, the first coaching change, they could have left. And then you had a one-off with the next coach, and it could have been easy to say, you know what, I'm gonna take off, and I just don't like the coaching carousel. And then that first year of Julie Fulks era, I mean, it was rough. I mean, you had a team that came into that Sun Belt, the end of the season, into the Sun Belt tournament, started to show what this team could do and what it could have been capable of, but it was too little, too late, unfortunately, because with that low seed, it was that uphill battle with the crazy Sun Belt tournament that year. And then this year, putting the pieces together. So what they've done, I think, and it remains to be seen in the future over the next few years. But, you've got a core there that not only stayed and built something great, but I think it's a platform to build off of, because you had a sold out Cam for a women's basketball game. And I don't know, did we sell out any of those games when Kim Caldwell was here?
They may have sold out the game against Florida. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I
And
don't
I don't know
know.
if they did, but here would be a point that I would make here too is at Marshall we've done some really really cool things with sports with athletics that aren't considered your major sports, right?
Sure.
You look at men's soccer. You know, you took a bunch of guys who were playing on grass fields all around the tri-state area because they didn't have a home. You know, they got a home built for them. You know, you bring in Coach Grassy, you know, who was up in Charleston at the time, you know, who had a great career, winning records and doing great things, bring him here. And now you've got a program that has won a national championship. You know, I think, you know, you're seeing the softball program, you know, being talked about nationally, you know, should be in the top 25. And if they keep winning, will be in the top 25. May even get an NCAA invite if they don't win the Sun Belt. I mean, that's how, the potential is there. You know, you look at, you know, I think women's basketball could be that next sport that could have high fan engagement, you know, produce revenue. You know, they're putting an exciting brand of basketball on the court. And if you could fill out the cam for women's games and have that excitement around women's basketball, I mean, you could be looking at a program that, you know, has a pretty high ceiling.
Mhm.
And all that to say, you've got these three seniors. You've also had, obviously had everybody else on this team, but you had those three seniors be kind of the core to what this program is doing and what I would love to see moving forward. I would like to see a commitment into women's basketball because I think there's a bright future there, and I think Coach Folks is doing a great job. And it's a lot of the credit, I mean, obviously to her staff, but so much credit to those three seniors who stuck it out and became what you said, campus legends and pillars of this program. Man, so cool, very cool. And
it's excellent points. Excellent points. You were saying it like the floor of this program has been elevated to a place to where it wasn't just 4 years ago. The floor of this program was pretty low. You know, it wasn't that far fetched to go, all right, they'll have a losing season. They may not reach double-digit wins. Like, you just kind of mired in mediocrity or below mediocrity for a long time. And it's crazy what one coach can do. Now, Tony Kemper recruited our senior class. He gets a lot of credit for not coaching any of those games that led to a championship or anything like that, yet still building the foundation that elevated the floor of this program because he went and got those girls, right? But I'm a big Marshall football fan, just like everybody else. I like men's basketball just like everybody else. But I'm telling you, I have started looking and finding it to be easier to be a fan of a lot of these other sports because they found ways to be competitive where we win games in football. We win games in basketball. And I'm not saying that, but the amount of money we put into it to do that far surpasses the amount of money we're putting into, say, baseball or women's basketball or softball, for example, or women's soccer, or even, I don't know, or even track and field, for example. And we're seeing successes that on some levels are surpassing our big revenue sports. Now, you need football, you need basketball. They make the money for, that's supposed to be your big revenue sports. But I agree with you. There needs to be a little bit of a larger commitment maybe to women's basketball. What we've seen in the last 3 years is like kind of uncharted waters. 2 single season records for wins set, and tournament championships, like conference-wide accolades, not just first team all Sun Belt, like of the years type players. Abby Beeman was MVP, player of the year. Lewis Utzi's newcomer of the year. They're going to hang banners again, twice. It's the second time in 3 years they're going to hang banners. So if they're doing this, why not support those teams? If winning is the goal, does it always have to matter who's doing the winning, or do you just want to win? I mean, I like winning. I'd love for our football team to go 12-0 every year and that kind of thing too. But it's pretty cool to see a 28-win women's basketball team. It's pretty cool to see a potential 30, 40 win, 45 win, 50 edging 50 win softball team.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool, man. So I think and that all goes back to what? Recruiting more Big Green members, utilizing things like herdhotels.com, like getting more money funneled into the athletic department so that we can fund more scholarships and free more money up to invest in more sports and blah, 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 right? It's all a system and it's all intertwined. And now folks hopefully can see better why we harp on joining the Big Green, why we harp on taking advantage of these things to get money into the athletic department. We just want to win. Like, we're fans. We just want to win, you know?
Well, and then I think you made a great point. I mean, winning is fun and we all want to win. And when we don't win, the fans yell and scream and bicker and complain. And, I'm right there with them. But you also got to contribute too, right? And when you're winning, and especially when you've got a program like, women's basketball right now, that's kind of, okay, they've ended the year on a high note. You've got on a really hhigh note. Now I'm not going to be able to write a big, massive check, but you can now say, I'm going to start going to some games. I went to that one, I went to the one game, it's the first game I went to all season. I'm going to start going to regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
This is really fun. I'm start bringing my kids, and I'm going to bring my kids to these games because it's really fun and entertaining.
And it's cheap.
And it's cheap.
It's really cheap to get season tickets to women's basketball. And I'll tell you this, you said, I can't afford to write a big check. I can't, right? I say that all the time. I can't. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm just a regular dude. They sent around an email the other day commemorating the WNIT win, and they were like, hey, donate the score, right? $66. Make your one-time donation to go straight to the women's basketball program, $66. That ain't $10,000, $66, But if 1,000 people do that, well, $66,000, right? That's a lot of that's a chunk of money, a big chunk of money.
Absolutely.
So there are ways. They're not asking you to bleed your bank account dry. Do what you can, man. If the Herd winning and hoisting a banner was worth $15 to you, $10 to you, they'll take it. You know what I mean? Because we need it.
Well, and you're right. And that's the thing, if you have 1,000 people, 2,000 people, just give $10, man. I mean, that's $10,000, $20,000 that they didn't have before, that they can use that money, to do all kinds of things with, because that's what we want to elevate the program. And participation. I think I kind of want to go back to what you talked about earlier in the episode. Is it doesn't take $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 to participate in this. It's $8 a month with the Big Green, or $66 to the women's basketball, to their program. It's those things count. Those things matter. Those things actually, you are doing the part, even if you don't think that, well, what's $8 a month going to do? Well, $8 across 2,000 people can and does make a difference. And, you don't have to go empty your bank account to do that. Like you said, I think it's, just start at that little level, do what you can, be participatory in buying tickets and going to events and cheering on these, athletes. That's what matters, is just doing something. And, you don't have to do everything, just do something. And that's right. I think that's the key here. And so I'm really excited to see, hopefully a little bit of investment and a little bit of, not that there hasn't been investment or effort into the women's basketball program, but now's the time to do it, because I think there's a special opportunity here with this program moving forward.
I would tend to think that there was an investment after the championship season of Coach Caldwell. And we're seeing the benefits of that, because you just raised the banner for the WNIT. So it stands to reason, a little bit more of an investment, maybe you see a little bit more, of a consistent success. So I think we've got a good one. I really do. Recruiting is going to be hot and heavy. Portal recruiting is open for women's basketball as well. We know we've got several players, big time players, that we're going to have to fill a roster hole with, either through exhaustion of eligibility or transfer portal. We just named 3 seniors that are outgoing.
Yeah.
Lewis Utzi's out because her eligibility is exhausted now. and yeast entered the transfer portal. That's 5 big pieces that you're going to have to fill on roughly 13 players or whatever the roster is. So now the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else?
I do. I've last, but definitely not least, as we've alluded to multiple times in this. This is what's the same episode, right? I've lost track of time. As we've mentioned multiple times, and I'll be quick on this one, everybody. We'll get this wrapped up because if you're listening to this episode at this point, it's probably the tailgate lots are probably already opening. So to go ahead and make that point this weekend. All right, Saturday. This is herd weekend. We're going to start. The tailgate is going to start at 10 a.m. That's right. ThunderCast does not do this lightly. We never take a tailgate lightly. We are very serious about our tailgating. We will be starting our tailgating at 10 a.m. And then we will be going over to the fountain ceremony at 11:30. And then we will be having food, and that will be served around 1 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you that know what ThunderCast Live is, powered by ignite.link, we won't be just having one show. We will be having 2 shows. One of the shows will be first show will be inside the stadium store. I'm not going to reveal any more information on that. And then we'll be doing another episode or another live show right after the fountain ceremony at the tailgate. So we'll have those out for everybody, and be there, or you better have a really, really, really good excuse, like you live in Columbus and you're watching the championship spring college soccer game
league.
The spring league championship game. Other than that, you have no other excuse. Get your tickets, come tailgate with us. It's going to be a real good time.
Yep, my flight leaves tomorrow evening, so I am pumped. Friday and Saturday is all herd. Sunday early is going to be all herd until I got to get prepped up to fly back on Sunday evening. But I have been I've tried to invite every coach team that is going to be in and around Huntington. I just wanted to make them aware of our tailgate and what we are doing so that they know they are welcome there. And you may or may not see some championship level athletes there. Not saying I can't say that because, it's like they may show up, they may not. That I didn't give anybody a time. It's just like, hey, if you're hungry and you want to come by and get some really great food, we'll be there. So it would not surprise me to see several of our beloved herd athletes over there just stopping by and getting some food. And of course, this is all free thanks to Landscaping by Hillcrest. Anybody that's in attendance at the game or tailgating is free to come by, free to get your belly full, hang out, have a great time. Like, this is the kickoff to our year, I feel like, because this is the first time where we've been leading up to something, and now we get to execute the hell out of something and really have some fun for herd fans. And then we get our little springtime, summertime position group breakdowns going on, and then it's full bore tailgating season in the fall. If you are in and around Huntington, if you're going to the game, you should absolutely stop by, say what's up. There's going to be some tremendously great food ready to roll after the fountain ceremony sometime around 1-ish. So do not be a stranger. It's going to be awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Well, man, that is all that I've got for Around the Herd, brought to you by Layer One Solutions. We made it. Hour and a half. Let's
just a shade under a decade. So since you got nothing else, take us out of here, man.
All right. Well, you see us at the Cam, where you see us at the Dot, where you see this whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us tailgating our rears off at the Joan, wherever you see us, we're going to be saying, go herd.
Go herd. I better see every damn one of you on the West Lot on Saturday. Later.